Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered why some women command respect effortlessly while others struggle to be valued? It's not just about beauty, intelligence, or charm. It's about what she chooses to keep hidden. Today, I'm going to reveal the 3 things every woman must guard if she wants to maintain her influence, dignity, and power in any relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. Every woman carries within her a power, a presence, a mystery that is not meant to be exposed to just anyone. You see, the moment you give everything away, the moment you make yourself completely available, something happens. Value is lost. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how people chase what they don't fully understand? How they respect what they can't fully grasp? A woman's power is not just in what she gives, but in what she chooses to keep. There are 3 things a woman should never reveal to a man if she wants to be respected, if she wants to be cherished, if she wants to be truly valued. And today, we're going to talk about the first one. A woman must never, ever reveal the full depth of her thoughts too soon. Because a woman's mind is her strongest weapon, and when she exposes everything too quickly, she loses the very thing that makes her intriguing, the very thing that makes a man curious about her, invested in her. Let me tell you, men are natural hunters. They are drawn to mystery. They are challenged by what they cannot fully figure out. But the moment a woman spills all her thoughts, all her plans, all her emotions at once, she becomes predictable. And what is predictable often becomes overlooked. Now, I am not saying you should be deceptive. No, I am saying you should be strategic. A woman with wisdom knows that her thoughts should be released in stages, not all at once. Let him discover you piece by piece, layer by layer. Let him work to understand you. That's how respect is cultivated. That's how value is maintained. Think about the greatest works of art, the most powerful leaders, the most influential people in history. They did not just hand out all their knowledge and thoughts to the first person who asked. No, they revealed them over time to those who proved themselves worthy of that knowledge. A woman should guard her thoughts like a treasured chest, unlocking them only for the right person at the right time. Because let me tell you, the moment you make your mind easy to access, you make it easy to be dismissed. So let me ask you, are you giving away too much too soon? Are you letting someone into your mind before they've earned the right to be there? Because if you are, it's time to pull back. It's time to reevaluate. It's time to make sure you are not giving your power away for free. And speaking of power, there's another thing a woman must always keep hidden, something even more valuable than her thoughts. And trust me, if you get this wrong, you risk losing everything. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. There is a power in what you choose to conceal. A woman's value is not just in what she says, but also in what she refuses to expose too soon. And today I need you to understand something crucial. If you want to be respected, if you want to be cherished, if you want to be truly valued, there is a second thing a woman must never reveal too soon. And let me tell you, if you get this wrong, you might just hand over your power without even realizing it. A woman must never, ever reveal the full extent of her feelings too quickly. Why? Because emotions are power. And the moment you lay them all out on the table before the right time, before the right person, you risk being taken for granted. Let me tell you something. People appreciate what they have to work for. They respect what they have to earn. But when a woman exposes all her emotions too soon, when she makes it too easy, too obvious, she removes the very thing that makes her exciting, the very thing that makes her worth pursuing. Have you ever seen someone who just gives and gives and gives only to be left empty? Only to be left wondering why the person they gave everything to no longer seems interested? It's because when something is too accessible, it's too easy to overlook. Now, I am not saying you should hide your feelings forever. No. I am saying you must be careful. You must be intentional. Because let me tell you, emotions are like a gift. And the more precious the gift, the more carefully it should be given. If a man has not proven himself, if he has not shown that he is worthy of your emotions, then why are you giving them so freely? Why are you handing over your heart without first making sure he knows how to protect it? A woman who values herself understands this. She knows that love is not about chasing, it's about attracting. She knows that her emotions are not something to be thrown away, but something to be cherished by the right person. So let me ask you, have you been giving too much of yourself too soon? Have you been showing your heart before someone has shown their intentions? Because if you have, it's time to pull back, to reevaluate, to remember that your emotions are valuable and they should only be shared with someone who has earned that privilege. And speaking of privilege, there's one more thing a woman must never reveal too quickly. Something even more powerful than her emotions. Something that, if given away too soon, can change everything. And trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. A woman's value is not just in what she says, but in what she chooses to keep to herself. We've already talked about how a woman must guard her thoughts, how she must protect her emotions. But there is one more thing, something so powerful, so precious, that if she reveals it too soon, she risks losing everything. A woman must never, ever reveal the full extent of her standards and expectations too quickly. Now, you might be thinking, why? Shouldn't I be upfront? Shouldn't I tell him exactly what I want? Listen to me. It's not about hiding what you want. It's about how you reveal it. Because the moment a man knows everything you desire, everything you expect, everything you're looking for, some will do just enough to meet those expectations temporarily. Have you ever seen someone who seemed perfect at first? They said all the right things, did all the right things, but the moment they felt secure, the moment they felt like they had you, they changed? That's because they were performing, not transforming. See, when a woman lays out all her standards too soon, she gives a man a roadmap, and some men will follow that roadmap just long enough to get what they want. But a wise woman, she does something different. She doesn't tell a man what to do, she watches what he does. She doesn't explain her worth, she demonstrates it through her actions. She doesn't beg for respect, she commands it by how she carries herself. And let me tell you something, a man will show you who he truly is if you give him time. But if you tell him everything you want too soon, he might just become what you desire for a moment. And the moment he no longer has to impress you, he reverts back to who he really is. That's why a woman must observe before she reveals. She must test before she trusts. Because let me ask you, how many times have you given your heart to someone only to realize later that they were never really the person you thought they were? How many times have you believed in potential instead of looking at the patterns? A woman who values herself understands this. She lets a man reveal his intentions through his actions, not just his words. She doesn't hand over the blueprint to her heart. She makes him work to understand it. And speaking of work, there's something else a woman must protect. Something that, if given away too soon, can cause her to lose not just her value, but her identity. And trust me, this is the one that separates those who are truly powerful from those who are easily forgotten. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. A woman's strength is not just in what she says, but in what she chooses to protect. We've already talked about her thoughts, her emotions, and her standards, but there is something else, something even more powerful. And if a woman does not guard this, she can lose herself completely. A woman must never, ever reveal the full extent of her weaknesses too soon. Now, you might be asking, shouldn't I be open? Shouldn't I be honest? And yes, honesty is important, but wisdom is knowing when and how to reveal certain things. Because let me tell you, when you expose your weaknesses too soon, you don't just invite understanding, you invite manipulation. Have you ever shared your deepest struggles, only to later realize that the very person you trusted used those struggles against you? Have you ever been vulnerable with someone only to watch them walk away the moment they saw your imperfections? That's because not everyone deserves access to your wounds. Not everyone can be trusted with your pain. A wise woman does not let just anyone into the deepest parts of her life. She takes her time. She watches. She discerns. She makes sure that the person standing in front of her is strong enough, mature enough, and worthy enough to handle her truth. Because let me tell you, the right person will see your weaknesses and want to protect you. The wrong person will see your weaknesses and try to control you. And listen to me. If you don't learn to discern the difference, you could end up giving your trust to someone who will only use it to break you. This is why a woman must never rush to expose her scars. She must never be so desperate for connection that she reveals everything about herself before someone has proven they are safe. Because a woman who understands her value knows that her heart is not a book for just anyone to read. It is a story that must be earned, a story that must be handled with care. So let me ask you, are you giving away your weaknesses too soon? Are you letting someone into your most fragile places before they have shown they can be trusted? Because if you are, it's time to pull back, to reevaluate, to make sure that the person you are opening up to is capable of handling what's inside you. And speaking of what's inside, there is one final thing a woman must protect. One thing that, if lost, can take years to recover. One thing that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. And let me tell you, this is the one thing that, if you guard it, will make you unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. A woman's power is not just in what she shows, but in what she protects. We've talked about her thoughts, her emotions, her standards, and her weaknesses. But this is the one that can make the difference between a woman who is respected and a woman who is taken for granted. A woman must never, ever reveal the full extent of her plans too soon. Now, you might be thinking, but shouldn't I share my dreams? Shouldn't I be open about where I'm going? And the answer is yes, but not with everyone, and not too soon. Because let me tell you something, not everyone who hears your plans will celebrate them. Not everyone who smiles at you wants to see you succeed. Have you ever been excited about a goal, shared it with someone, and suddenly you felt doubt creeping in? Suddenly the energy shifted. The same dream that made you feel alive now feels heavy. Why? Because when you speak too soon, you invite opinions. And let me tell you, opinions can be poison. Some people will criticize your vision, not because it's impossible, but because they can't see themselves doing it. Some will discourage you, not because you can't achieve it, but because they fear what your success will mean for them. And some will quietly watch, waiting for the right moment to sabotage what you are building. A wise woman moves in silence. She does not announce every step. She takes the steps. She does not seek approval. She executes. She does not wait for permission. She creates. And let me tell you, when you learn to protect your plans, you become unstoppable. Because people can't attack what they can't see. They can't block a move they don't know is coming. And they can't destroy a vision that has been guarded, watered, and nurtured in private. So let me ask you, are you speaking too soon? Are you inviting opinions that have no place in your future? Are you sharing your dreams with people who have not earned the right to hear them? Because if you are, it's time to pull back, to protect what is yours, and to let your reason do the talking. And speaking of results, there's something else a woman must protect, something even more valuable than her plans, something that if she loses it, can take years to rebuild. And trust me, this is the one thing that will determine not just how she is seen, but how she sees herself. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. A woman's power is not just in what she knows, but in what she chooses to protect. We've talked about her thoughts, her emotions, her standards, her weaknesses, and her plans. But this is the one that shapes her future. This is the one that determines whether she will live in fulfillment or spend her life trapped in regret. A woman must never, ever reveal the full extent of her past too soon. Now, you might be thinking, but shouldn't I be transparent? Shouldn't I be open about where I've been? And the answer is yes, but not with everyone and not before the right time. Because let me tell you something, not everyone who asks about your past is looking to understand you. Some are looking for ammunition. Have you ever shared your past with someone thinking they would appreciate your journey only for them to use it against you later? Have you ever felt judged, not for who you are now, but for who you used to be? That's because not everyone is mature enough to handle your history. Not everyone is wise enough to separate who you were from who you have become. And let me tell you, some people will use your past to keep you in chains. They will remind you of your mistakes, not because they care, but because they don't want you to grow beyond them. They will bring up old versions of you because they are afraid of the powerful version of you that is emerging. A wise woman does not hand over her story to just anyone. She does not explain herself to those who have already made up their minds. She does not seek validation from people who are committed to misunderstanding her. She understands that her past is not a burden. It is a lesson. It is not something to be ashamed of. It is something to be learned from. But she also knows that not everyone is deserving of that knowledge. And let me tell you, when you learn to protect your past, when you learn to share it only with those who have proven they are safe, something powerful happens. You stop living under the shadow of who you used to be, and you step fully into the woman you are becoming. So let me ask you, are you handing your story to people who don't deserve it? Are you allowing others to define you by your past instead of seeing the strength you have gained from it? Because if you are, it's time to pull back, to protect what is yours, and to remember, you are not your past. You are the lessons you have learned from it. And speaking of what's yours, there's something else a woman must protect, something even more valuable than her history, something that if she loses it, will impact every area of her life. And trust me, this is the one thing that will determine whether she rises or whether she remains stuck. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. A woman's power is not just in what she says, but in what she chooses to keep sacred. We've talked about her thoughts, her emotions, her standards, her weaknesses, her plans, and her past. But this is the one that determines whether she will be valued or simply used. A woman must never, ever reveal the full extent of her financial status too soon. Now, you might be thinking, but shouldn't I be transparent? Shouldn't I let a man know where I stand financially? And the answer is not yet, not too soon. Because let me tell you something. Not everyone who asks about your finances is looking to grow with you. Some are looking to benefit from you. Have you ever noticed how people treat you differently when they think you have money? How suddenly they become more interested, more available, more accommodating. But the moment they realize you can't be used, the moment they see that you're not here to fund their lifestyle, they disappear. That's because some people are not looking for a partner, they're looking for a sponsor. And let me tell you, a wise woman does not lead with her bank account. She does not introduce herself by what she owns. She does not place her worth in what she possesses, because she understands that true wealth is not just about what's in her hands, it's about what's in her mind, what's in her character, what's in her spirit. And let me warn you, when a woman reveals too soon that she is financially stable, she risks attracting the wrong kind of people, the kind that pretend to love her, but in reality, they love what she can provide. The kind that act supportive, but only as long as she is giving. The kind that say the right things until they get what they want. A woman who values herself understands this. She lets a man prove his intentions before he ever knows what she brings to the table. She watches how he treats her when he doesn't know what she has, and she doesn't hide her success. But she also doesn't breadcraft it to those who have not earned a place in her life. So let me ask you, are you revealing too much about your financial status? Are you allowing someone to be drawn to your resources instead of your true worth? Because if you are, it's time to pull back, to protect what is yours, and to remember what you have should never be more important than who you are. And speaking of value, there's something else a woman must protect. Something even more precious than her finances. Something that, if she gives it away too soon, can cost her more than money. It can cost her peace. And trust me, this is the one thing that will determine whether she lives in fulfillment or regret. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. A woman's power is not just in what she possesses, but in what she guards. We've talked about her thoughts, her emotions, her standards, her weaknesses, her plans, her past, and even her financial status. But this is something even more valuable. This is what determines whether a woman moves with dignity or whether she gives away her power without even realizing it. A woman must never, ever reveal the full extent of her intimacy too soon. Now, you might be thinking, but shouldn't I express myself? Shouldn't I be open in a relationship? And the answer is yes, but not too fast. And not without understanding the cost. Because let me tell you something. Not every man who wants access to you values you. Have you ever seen a woman who gave everything, her time, her energy, her love, even her body, only to be left disrespected or taken for granted? Have you ever watched a woman pour into a man thinking it would make him stay, only for him to walk away without a second thought? That's because intimacy without commitment leads to attachment without security. And let me tell you, a wise woman does not give the most valuable parts of herself to someone who has not proven they are worthy of it. She does not confuse attention with intention. She does not mistake attraction for loyalty. She understands that true connection is not just about what happens in a moment, it's about what happens after. Because let me warn you, when a woman gives too much too soon, she loses leverage. She loses mystery. She loses the ability to truly see whether a man values her or just what he can get from her. And once a man feels like he has received everything without having to invest in it, he no longer has a reason to pursue, to commit, or to protect what has already been handed to him. A woman who understands her worth does not rush intimacy. She lets a man prove his character before she gives him access. She makes sure he is not just interested, but invested, because she knows what is given too easily is often taken lightly. So let me ask you, are you giving away too much of yourself without requiring a commitment? Are you hoping that your sacrifice will create love, when in reality, true love protects what is sacred? Because if you are, it's time to pull back, to reevaluate, and to remember, the right man will wait for what is valuable, but the wrong man will try to rush what he does not respect. And speaking of value, there's one more thing a woman must protect. One final thing that, if lost, can take years to recover. One thing that determines not just how others see her, but how she sees herself. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. A woman's power is not just in what she gives, but in what she refuses to lose. We've talked about her thoughts, her emotions, her standards, her weaknesses, her plans, her past, her finances, and even her intimacy. But this is the one thing that determines whether a woman walks in confidence or whether she shrinks into doubt. A woman must never, ever reveal the full extent of her self-doubt too soon. Now, you might be thinking, but shouldn't I be honest about my struggles? Shouldn't I share my fears? And the answer is yes, but not with everyone, and certainly not before the right time. Because let me tell you something, not everyone who sees your insecurities is looking to help you. Some are looking to use them. Have you ever noticed that when a woman shows too much doubt, some people begin to treat her differently? They begin to test her boundaries. They begin to take advantage of her hesitations. That's because when you expose too much of your fears, the wrong person will see it as an opportunity, not a reason to protect you. And let me tell you, a wise woman knows how to manage her insecurities without making them a target. She does not hide her struggles, no, but she also does not hand them over to people who have not earned her trust. She understands that strength is not the absence of fear, it is the ability to carry fear without letting it control her. Because let me warn you, when a woman constantly questions herself in front of a man, she slowly teaches him to question her too. When she constantly apologizes for who she is, she slowly teaches him that she is not worth standing firm for. And when she constantly seeks reassurance, she slowly teaches him that his approval is more important than her own. A woman who understands her value does not let self-doubt define her. She faces it, she works through it, but she does not make it her identity. She stands in her confidence, even when she is still building it, because she knows the way she sees herself will determine the way others see her. So let me ask you, are you allowing your doubts to be exposed to the wrong people? Are you making your fears louder than your strength? Because if you are, it's time to pull back. to rebuild your confidence, and to remember you are not your insecurities. You are the power you choose to walk in despite them. And speaking of power, there is one final thing a woman must protect. One last thing that if she loses it will cost her more than anything else. And trust me, this is the one thing that will determine whether she lives in true purpose or whether she simply exists. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me carefully. A woman's power is not just in what she knows, but in what she refuses to surrender. We've talked about her thoughts, her emotions, her standards, her weaknesses, her plans, her past, her finances, her intimacy, and even her self-doubt. But this is the most important one. This is the one thing that determines whether a woman will live with purpose or merely survive. A woman must never, ever reveal the full extent of her dreams too soon. Now, you might be thinking, but shouldn't I share my goals? Shouldn't I let people know what I'm working toward? And the answer is yes, but not with everyone, and not before the right time. Because let me tell you something. Not everyone who hears your dreams is excited for you. Some are threatened by them. Some are intimidated by your vision. Some will try to discipline you, not because your dream is impossible, but because they can't see themselves achieving what you are capable of. Have you ever shared a dream with someone only for them to respond with doubt, with negativity, with statements like, "Are you sure that's realistic? What if you fail? Maybe you should lower your expectations." That's because small-minded people will always try to shrink big dreams. And if you're not careful, you start to believe them. And let me tell you, a wise woman protects her vision. She does not expose it to people who cannot handle it. She does not seek approval from those who do not share her ambition. She does not allow the fears of others to become the limits on her life. Because let me warn you, when a woman reveals her dream too soon, she risks allowing the wrong voices to shape it. When she listens to the doubts of others, she risks losing the very fire that makes her unique. And when she lets people who don't believe in themselves speak into her destiny, she risks settling for a life that is smaller than what she was meant for. A woman who understands her purpose moves in silence. She builds before she announces. She executes before she explains. She lets her results speak louder than her words because she knows a dream is too precious to be placed in the hands of those who do not value it. So let me ask you, are you sharing your vision with the wrong people? Are you allowing the limitations of others to dim your potential? Because if you are, it's time to pull back, to protect your dreams, and to remember the future belongs to those who have the courage to believe in what they have not yet seen. And that, my friends, is the power of a woman who knows what to protect. When she guards what is sacred, when she moves with wisdom, when she refuses to give away what is valuable too soon, she does not just exist, she thrives. She does not just dream, she fulfills. And that is the woman who will change the world.